Hey everyone, I want to do these live sessions looking through some of my recently either taken or processed pictures, but certainly all recently processed pictures on my computer, and it seems quite a nice way to do this on Instagram. I also want to do this again because I'm still trying to figure out how to make Instagram actually save these for me so you don't have to watch them live. You can see them again. So what I've got here is my processed pictures folder, which are pictures that I've processed but haven't yet added captions and keywords or added them to my website. So it's kind of my, I guess, my most recently processed pictures. Some are new pictures, some are old pictures. And there's quite a few old pictures in this one because I've been reprocessing a few pictures or picking out older pictures and processing them using the Lightroom or Photoshop's enhance feature to give super resolution. And I think that's really interesting. This is a very well-known picture, the first one that's highlighted down the bottom here. I can probably blur it up full screen for you. Of this leafy sea dragon taken in Australia, I guess 10 years ago now. I think it's, I don't know, much longer than that, 15 years ago now. And this was shot with an old D80 camera. It was actually my kind of B camera on the shoot. And I was, went in with a wide angle lens to shoot the leafy sea dragons. And I brought the B camera with a macro lens and ended up getting this super posy individual and ended up taking, one of my best known pictures with a camera I was never expecting. And the D80 was never a particularly high resolution camera. I think it was 10 megapixel. And, so it was always quite a limited file. And I actually reprocessed it just last week. And and using the super resolution, I'll just zoom in on one of the eyes if I can. And you see, that's, now a 40 megapixel file, and it's super sharp at a pixel level. I think you can see that, the sharpness in the eye there, some of the detail in the face, that sort of thing. It's got lovely detail. The noise is really nicely controlled, really impressive. A few other pictures. This is kind of quite a cool fish. I love the pattern on this fish. This is a red tail or orange tail triggerfish from the East Pacific. I've got a trip to the East Pacific soon, so I was pulling out a few pictures from that part of the world just to have a bit more coverage of those species. Actually, more just for the talks, or also to remind myself what was there, and so that I don't go back and shoot the same pictures again and again. This is quite a cutie. This nurse shark. Sorry, I'm trying to move it without it zooming in. I can't do that. I'll just move the camera a little bit so you can see it. There we go. It's got a cute little snout of a nurse shark that was processed through recently. A lovely bit of sunset. This is also from the East Pacific, from a Socorro trip. I've sorted these just on date process, so they're going to be a little bit random. Probably should have resorted these on file name or something. I might just click that now, sort by date created. That'll probably stick all these old ones at the bottom. There's actually a few slides here that I've processed this week, which are quite interesting. These are some high-resolution slide scans I had done a little while ago. I've been processing some grey angelfish, and these are SLR pictures taken of grey angelfish. Lots of great detail in them with the SLRs. You can see zoom right in on some of these with my mouse. Just some different shots of grey angelfish that I wanted for a particular article I was working on. And I remember that I had an old slide film shot of them, which I'd never actually added to my archives. And this is it. And this is a slide film shot scanned at high resolution. I'll just check how big this is quickly while talking about it. Yeah, so this is 6,000. I guess that's like a 35, 40 megapixel file, maybe 38, something like that. Don't know. Anyway, quite a high megapixel. It's a slide, it's scan film, so it has a different noise structure to we're used to in digital. It's probably not quite as sharp at a pixel level as a digital file, but it still holds up pretty well. A pretty nice, decent professional scan of it. This grey angelfish looks pretty cool. Lit with a single strobe, which I quite like in this particular frame. Lit from the side there with that kind of angled lighting, kind of bit kind of Beatles Hard Day's Night lighting. This is an old picture of the Janice D, a classic Red Sea wreck. This is taken a film shot, and this is just one I also processed with super resolution, just to have a higher resolution version of it. A lot of this superstructure on the wreck has fallen down quite a long time ago, actually. So the wreck has changed a little bit down the years. So there's a lot more coral growing on this rear railings as well these days as well. So lots changed on the wrecks. It's quite nice having these historic images of things you've shot. Then there's some other images that I've been processing. this one. This is a blue groper from Australia. Kind of a cool large wrasse, quite a cute fish. A xanthic pufferfish. Oh, sorry, they're zooming. I'm trying to drag them, not make them zoom, but they're not a drag. I think if I show them, I'll have to zoom the camera around. These are just some of those East Pacific fish I was talking about, and obviously it's a Socorro trip. So I just processed out this manta shot. One of the reasons I often revisit processing a trip when I've got a trip coming up again is partly to have some fresh images for the lectures on the workshop, but it's also to remind myself what stock I've got, because I'm not particularly interested in going back to a destination and shooting all the same pictures again. And this is quite a nice kind of shot, taken specifically really as a cover shot for a magazine with good space top and bottom for the magazines to use. And I think that's underwater cameraman Eric Higuera in this picture here. I can't quite tell if it's him. It looks like him in the picture. Right, let's go back to the grid. Just a few more pictures. There's a little tube blenny from that area. This picture I shared on Instagram. Again, this is another one processed at super resolution. So originally shot with a 12 megapixel Nikon D2X and now processed with super resolution. And, fantastic pixel detail at, that's a 48 megapixel file. So, really amazing what that old, a well-shot 12 megapixel file from years ago, just, with a quick raw file processing, not hours and hours in processing, running it through different software, coming out and giving a really high quality result. Right, those grey angelfish. This is another one I shared on Instagram. You might have seen this is the sailfin blenny, Caribbean sailfin blenny. I really like this one. He's really displaying this male here, puffing out his gills and everything. You can see some of the detail on his face. Just let it load up a little bit. There you go. You see all the detail popping out. And again, I think this is an older picture processed with super resolution and just giving a huge 40, 50 megapixel file with great pixel level detail. Running through some more pictures, quite a nice, it's an unusual one. This fireworm, a bristleworm, polychaete bristleworm, on a two-spotted flounder. You can tell the species of the flounder, this particular species has got these kind of double spots. And just a really unusual juxtaposition of species. Obviously, you wouldn't want to touch that bristleworm. They'll give you a nasty sting, or the CT will actually stick in, which are the white bristles, will actually stick into your skin and irritate it long term. And it's just unusual that this was able to crawl over the flounder without causing any impact on the flounder. Then just some shots of clingfish from the Caribbean. I'm trying to get my head around the identification of these clingfish. The Caribbean clingfish there's actually quite a lot of diversity in them, and they're all quite cryptic, not particularly well known. And I'm still unconvinced that either of these two clingfish, which are probably different species, are actually exact matches for the species that are there. And it's probably a slightly more complicated situation. Neither of them quite match all the colour descriptions for the species. So they're probably, I mark them down as closest to this in my library of ID. Just a nice little moody cavern shot. Oh, that's not loaded up properly. Colour's not coming through very well on that. Right, on the camera. Those who follow my work or look at my work regularly will know that I've had a bit of a thing for parrotfish of late. I think this was motivated by a recent trip to the Maldives, or at the end of last year, where I discovered that the Maldives government has actually protected parrotfish. And I've got quite a thing as a fish photographer that I always feel like, as underwater photographers, we tend to focus our attention on the rare and exotic species. And actually very few of us have good pictures of damselfish or, parrotfish or wrasse or... Yeah, we've all got a million pictures of seahorses and frogfish and all those rare, unusual fish, but it's the more everyday fish we don't tend to try and take nice pictures of. And I like this this parrotfish as she's swimming there through the Alcon coral. There's just some pictures, topside pictures of Zuzu Askin, who's this year's European scholar for the Our World Underwater Scholarship Society. She was on my recent workshop in the Cayman Islands, and I was just processing out some pictures of her, some topside pictures that we did, just for her to have a little bit more images to give to magazines when she's writing articles about herself and promoting the scholarship. Then we're now coming up. These are sorted by date created, so we're now into pictures taken, this year in the Cayman Islands. A little bicolour damsel, nice smooth trunkfish. Then some model shots done here with my friend Sam. Just posing here, cruising over the top of a really nice piece of boulder. Of giant star coral. Then just some fun shots. A start of the dive shot. I always like these pictures where of diving where we don't normally necessarily always take pictures. And these are just a couple of shots of Sam diving on the Kittiwake wreck. This really impressive, as you can see from this photo, sponge growth on this wreck these days. So really nice to see, right? And you can see how colourful, particularly the shaded parts of the wreck are becoming. And because the Kittiwake wreck really lies over on her side now, it's that underside that has all this really, really lovely, rich sponge growth. Whereas the top side of the wreck, as you can see, is actually just mainly algae covered. There's a few small coral colonies growing. You can see there's a grooved brain coral there growing. Another one there. So this is, that's probably 5 years of growth, something like that. The wreck's been down about 12 years, but those corals have probably grown a bit bigger than that in that time. Just a couple more topside shots of Zuzu, just pictures of her in and around the diving world, which are useful for her. Not normally pictures I'd show, but that's quite the fun of this. Looking through what's in my library. Then these are some more shots of the diving in the Cayman Islands. This is a picture of Sam again, exploring caves and caverns. This one is at a dive site called which dive site's that? That's Kelly's Caverns. I quite like this next one actually, from Mouse. This one here, it's Sam. It's on the same dive site. This is actually just above, almost directly above that other shot. There's a lovely alcorn coral packed for those parrotfish, loads of fish in the background, really fishy, energy filled scene. I like pictures. Not compositionally particularly strong picture, but there's just so much life and energy in a picture like that I really like. Right, let's scroll up through. Some more shots from that same dive site. Really impressive reef formations. I like these big boulders. Picture of myself there. As a photographer, you always need lots of pictures of yourself for magazine articles. Another picture of Zuzu here. This is a split level portrait shot with shallow depth of field to create more of a portrait look. Normally I'd obviously be very keen when shooting a split level of nature to have everything in focus, from the underwater part to the above water part and right back to the horizon. But here I shot with a more open aperture to separate, to make it more of a portrait shot. There's another shot of Zuzu on a dive, doing some videography, doing some photography. And then some more shots in the caves and caverns on Cayman. Very, very nice coral formations here. It always amazes me how much the colours change within these caves and caverns. Some areas are really pink, some are really orange. This area here is really yellow, which I think is quite interesting. This area here, you can see actually very close to that other shot, just around the corner, really, in the caves and caverns. But this is really red. Really, just the encrusting life changes and the colours change on these particular reefs. This is all from the Cayman trip. So these are invasive lionfish in the Caribbean. Just a detailed shot of one, and then just a face of one of their ugly mugs. Obviously, they're a beautiful fish when I see them in the Indo-Pacific, but an ugly mug in the Caribbean. And these last two shots, just a couple of different macro shots I processed recently. This was a male blue chromis on his nest. This hollow here in the sand is where he'd excavated his nest. And the female had just been in and laid eggs, and he was swimming around, fertilising them at this point. You can see how excited he is with his mouth open, and the whole top of his body is blushed black, and he's got this really rich blue on his underside. And then just finally this very colourful cleaning shrimp. These are not particularly common in the Cayman Islands. They're much easier to photograph in other places, actually, in the Caribbean. So it's not a particularly amazing photo. But I always like to get some shots of these from there just because I don't see them so much. So that's a little bit about what's been passing through my desktop in terms of processing recently. I've had quite a busy week. Oh, I was going to show you one more of the old pictures, actually, before I finish. This is a picture that I found when looking for this angelfish shot. And I quite often, when I'm processing pictures, will go dig into the archives for a picture that I've not processed to date. and because I'm looking for a particular subject, and then bump into something else and go, oh, I really should have a copy of that out there as well. And this is a photo taken in the Cayman Islands before the big Hurricane Ivan in 2004. And before then, there was a lot of very nice hard coral growth in the shallows, which if you've been to Cayman recently, it's not so common to see the whole seabed in very shallow water carpeted with coral. In this case, it's finger coral, it's parietes growing everywhere. And I just find it, it's really worth, probably at the time I wasn't, it's not a perfect picture. The light's not great on the model. I didn't have strobes. It was just an available light shot. Probably taken the Nikonos 5 because it's shot with 15mm on the Nikonos 5 or something like that. Just a shot. But I think now, historically, I've seen that habitat disappear from that island. In this case, not really through climate change, actually, or through, a climate or event in terms of a big hurricane changing the reefs. And I think for that reason, I felt it's a picture I wanted to have in the archive for the Cayman Islands, because I think it's nice to have those pictures that show the before and after. And obviously when we took this, I wasn't thinking of that before and after, but now the picture has a different significance. Okay, right, that's it from me on this live. I'm now going to try and exit the live and hopefully save it so people who didn't watch it live can actually watch it back.